How's it, Graham? Poolstock here from Poolstock's Rides. How are you doing today?
Yeah, all good.
Right, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time, man. Really appreciate it. So, everybody, right. So, once again, we've got an interview with a legend. And this time around, we've got the amazing, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, the calm and collected Graham Jarvis. So, I'm Poolstock from Poolstock's Rides. And what's joining me today is Clayton Codd. He's one of our up and coming young riders. And Tace. So, thank you, Graham, for joining us.
Oh, it's good to be on here. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. Tace, Clayton, want to say hello?
So, Clayton, nice to meet you.
How you doing? Yeah, good.
Good, good. First of all, before I ask any questions, or I'm sure Uncle Yuan will start that, I just want to say it's an honor to finally have a chance to have a conversation with you. When I was growing up, I was always watching all the videos and the compilations and trying to figure out how you do the step-ups and trying to figure out what you're doing. But, first of all, I'd just like to say it's an honor to finally speak to you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton.
Graham, just thanks for your time. It'll be good to hear your point of view on things.
Yeah, let's go for it. Fire away.
Great. So, Graham, first off, I've been dying to know, during lockdown, instead of mowing the lawn, you were mowing down your garden shed. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it kind of escalated. Just obviously nothing to do. Thought I can do a video or just pop up and down, bounce the front wheel, put a video on. People kind of liked it. Obviously, everyone had nothing to do. So I just did another video, and then kind of a month in,
Yeah,
you kind of run out of things to do. So
we really enjoyed that. That was a great show, actually. And in the whole epidemic and the depression that was there, I think that was really some comic relief. How did your neighbors react to that?
Yeah, we know the neighbours. They were okay, but it's fairly quiet. We just did the stuff. When the shed caught on fire, they didn't really like that too much. They didn't call the
Awesome.
fire brigade.
Yeah, I actually thought that you'd be out in the country somewhere, enjoying the bikes and riding unlimited. So were you a bit obviously frustrated to capture it in the city?
Yeah, that was in UK, but I've got my place in Spain where we do the tours. But I just kind of got stuck in UK and couldn't travel. So yeah, it would have been better in Spain where we do the tours.
Obviously. All right. So, sorry. Yeah.
No, go on.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So we've broken the ice a bit now. Onto some more serious questions. So, in 2022, you got stuck in Erzberg in the pit. Your bike broke down and you were stuck there for an hour. That should have been pretty frustrating, considering that you had a great comeback later on. You made amazing after that, and you could have actually won that race. Tell us about that.
Yeah, strange things happen in Erzberg, I always say. But the bike broke. I started from the last line, but I was weighing up whether to even start, to bother trying. But you've made all that effort, so you might as well just give it a go and at least have a practice for next year, whatever. And I ended up kind of getting quite far in the race and had a bit of fun.
Alrighty. So don't take it too serious. Just take it as it goes and have a bit of fun.
Well, there's nothing you can do when shit happens, so you've got to make the best of it.
Alrighty. So, what is your favorite Hard Enduro event, and which one is the hardest?
Yeah, they're all different. Obviously, Erzberg, really technical, intense, like 3 hours or whatever it is. But Romaniac for me now is the most difficult. Longer days, multiple days, more difficult to recover. But as you get older, obviously, multiple days, it becomes more difficult. So, but they can all be difficult in their own ways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to respect your age. You're competing with a lot of young guns, and how do you manage just to keep up with people half your age with that level of stamina? How do you just do that?
Yeah, obviously, I've been training all my life basically, but it's been injuries kind of set you back, but you just keep working. I mean, I don't know what I can achieve as time goes by, but I just keep training and enjoying riding, and I think I'm still in there somewhere, but can always be better. But just a few injuries and stuff just takes longer to recover, and getting back to top form is more difficult. Let's say, if you're on top form, I think I can still be up there. But anything, have an injury and stuff, it just takes a lot longer.
No, definitely. I mean, I'm sitting with an injury right now since August, and I can't ride. It's terrible. But hopefully in next 2 months I'll be able to do that. So speaking of hard riding, your opinion on roof? Do you think it should be part of WES? And with the news today about from Hard Enduro World, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's a cool race, so yeah, why not? It should be part of the championship. Could be good. It's a unique race, isn't it? The way it is, the formats, it's not exactly the same as the others. The terrain's obviously different to most places in the world. And it's a cool place, isn't it? And a lot of fans there, obviously, so it definitely deserves to be in the championship.
Yeah, but it's in December in South Africa, the hottest part of the race probably, and it's the end of the whole year. It's a bit of a hard one to get on.
Yeah, I mean, the WES is not everything. It's still a cool race, whether it's in a championship or not. So it's right up there with Romania, Salzburg. So people know the race, and it's doesn't need to be in a championship to be an epic race. Obviously, it'd be nice to get more riders there for you guys, wouldn't it? But
absolutely. All right, let's move on to some training and advice on training. If there's one thing that you would advise, what's the first and most important technique a beginner enduro rider should master to get out of trouble, without fighting the bike and wasting a lot of energy?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you got to do the basics, the fundamentals first, because you want to be safe, learn in a progressive way. So, yeah, I've got to add a guy here today. Actually, I was training from Kazakhstan, and he kind of thought he was an iron class, or got a bronze class in Romania. Actually, can I do bronze? I'm like, you don't actually know the basics yet. You've got to get the clutch and the brakes and the gas controlled basically on a flat bit of ground and ride slow, and then obviously progress from there with first lifting the front wheel, because you can't do any step until you can do a controlled wheelie without just relying on the gas. So it's real basic to start with, and a lot of riders I see, they kind of bully their way through. They've got they can get through some stuff quite good, but they kind of sometimes get stuck if it's a little bit technical kind of step type stuff. So getting that technique, you've got to go right back to the basics and get the movements of the body, the controls, and do it in an easy way first and progress safely.
Yeah, it's not always horsepower and muscle power. It's like, can you do a pivot? Can you get your front wheel up and follow through with the rear wheel?
Yeah, that's it. And if you don't do them basics, you might get through, but you're always going to be fighting the bike and using a lot of energy, and you just burn out too quickly.
Yeah, I think energy conservation is king in those kind of events. All right, so following on that, one of my good friends, Chris Kruger, he wants to know, what's the 3 main aspects of riding that you teach your students at training camps? So the top 3 things you would say, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that clutch, getting control of the clutch and not zapping too. Basically, if you're too aggressive with the gas and the clutch, you're always going to be overshooting or spinning up at the rear. So getting them low revs and getting the clutch is the key. And then second step, bending the legs, using suspension to load and unload. And then it's kind of combining them 2 things. So you're doing a turn and a lift. You kind of build it up in a progressive way. You break the techniques right down, so don't try to do clutch and legs straight in. Do the clutch and the brakes. Focus on one key point at a time, and then you kind of put it together after the first 3 or 4 exercises it kind of becomes you're combining the basics. I always say, the more advanced stuff, technical stuff, is a combination of the basics, the fundamental movements and controls, but putting it together is the tricky bit.
Yeah, it's like a first-time rider. You can do your clutch and you can do your throttle, but don't try to combine it. You can hit a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But, just get each part perfect.
All right. So Clayton's got a question. Clayton, you wanted to ask Jarvis regarding some advice on young riders. Clayton?
Yes, thanks a lot, Johan. The main question, actually, I'm curious about advice for young riders, but the big question is, I was wondering what Graham thinks about electric dirt bikes, and if you think they have a chance in Hard Enduro, and especially the stock VOG, because I saw they released like a new Enduro model, and I was wondering if you thought it would be just as good or maybe even better than the gas bikes eventually, or if they can compete, or what your thoughts are on electric dirt bikes.
Yeah, I think it's not quite there yet, is it? But I think it's quickly going to happen. I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. I think because you can function without a clutch, which makes it better for new riders. You can adjust the power better for different levels of rider. You can ride more places. Places like UK where noise, it's a small country, noise is an issue, opens up more places to ride. Eventually I think they'll get there. I don't know how far off it is, but obviously the distance you can travel, they're going to find a solution to that. The obvious one is to have batteries you can change easily, the fuel stops.
Okay. Yeah, and I was wondering if you have tested the new Enduro model yet, because I know they have the MX edition, and then they also have the Enduro, the EX, I think it's called the EX or XC model. I was wondering if you tested, or if you have tested that yet.
No, I've not tested any electric bikes, but it's they need to. There's a lot to do. They need gears and a clutch, whether it's electronic or like we have now.
I think let's keep Greta on her toes for now. She's got to wait a little while before we go fully green, I think. Right. Okay. So Graham, so obviously you're known as the GOAT. The greatest of all time, and you've obviously seen there's a little meme about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they walk as Master Splinter, and then erase the young guys. I mean, it's funny because it's true. So how do you feel about that? And I think your trials background really gave you a big advantage in your enduro riding later years.
Yeah, that's it. I think there's the skills, the technical stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of trials riders that could jump on an enduro bike and do the technical stuff, but doing it in a race is a little bit different, and putting it all together, there's a lot more to it than just riding a bit of technique over some rocks. But it definitely helped me. But that post that's going around is quite amusing. But it has been going around for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but the camera makes every rock looks like level ground, but you just make stuff look so easy. So hats off on that, man. I mean, that's why you're pretty much the greatest of all time. And actually, you've won me a few rounds of bets on bets on you, and you've actually won. And okay, so next question is Peter Niemann from Adventure MX, also one of my good buddies. He's actually my local mechanic. He wants to know, considering your age, how long do you still see yourself doing pro-level enduro hard riding?
Yeah, it's kind of how much, if the body holds up is one thing, if I'm still enjoying it is another thing, if I'm still getting paid is the third thing. It's hard to say, but obviously 50 next year, so I can't say it's going to have so many years at the top level, but maybe I'll keep riding as I go down the results or whatever, or if I'm still enjoying it, I'll keep racing.
Yeah, I think you're one of the cases where you get paid to do your hobby, one of the lucky guys. I mean, you've broken all the records about being young and fit to do enduro riding, and so age is just a number.
Yeah, that's it. You don't really think about it too much. You're just kind of still doing training like I did 10 years ago. So, yeah, just keep focused on the here and now.
Super. Alrighty. So your pre-riding diet, do you carbo load a lot of chicken before 3 days before a race? I know I'm into like pasta 3 days before hard ride. Still being the slowest guy in the group, but yeah, I tried to get up there. So what's your pre-riding diet like?
Yeah, I think generally eating healthily, obviously months before, or always. You can't really start eating rubbish food, fast food and stuff, and wide variety of food. And then near the race, carbohydrates is probably the key in it, to carbo load a bit. Yeah, pasta and potatoes and rice is your carbohydrates.
How long before a race would you start carb loading?
I think like 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
You can start eating a little bit more carbs.
And do you add any additives to your water bladder?
Yeah, I think the electrolytes are the key, aren't they? And then, some sugar and stuff in it probably helps.
Awesome. Okay. So, second last section, being bike setups, and then the last section about you and your competitive riders. If you can choose any bike for the next year without any sponsorship, it's going to be paid out of your pocket. What stock standard bike off the floor would you take? And yeah, model and make.
Well, I've already tested them all, is the problem. So, on the Husqvarna. Husqvarna KTM, it's kind of proven, isn't it? So, yeah, probably, whether it's linkage or not, it's probably 50-50 maybe. KTM's better in some places, and then Husqvarna in other places.
So interesting, you mentioned the linkage. Do you think that gives you an advantage in softer riding?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more forgiving. They say without the linkage it's harder to set the shock up. It's good, but it is possible. Obviously linkage catches a little bit as well. It's a little bit of extra weight. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot in it.
Yeah, it's all two-sided in a coin on that. I mean, yeah. So Chris also wants to know, if you buy a bike off the floor, what's the first stock standard bike off the floor? What's the first mod you will make on it?
Yeah, I think you can put your suspension on. Obviously, you put your mooses in. Higher compression head for the top guys. But for the average rider, you don't really need suspension and engine any better. Standard's pretty good. Just get the mooses, your tyres right. We use the tubeless as well. You can actually run a tubeless and a moose, which is pretty cool. Especially in the front, it depends on the tyre in your rear. If you're running a real soft tyre, obviously it can puncture, but yeah.
But old mooses does magic, huh?
That's it. And then lower the gearing, I think it's always a good one.
Do you do
slow stuff?
Sprocket change-outs? Do you fiddle with your sprocket sizes?
Yeah, I just go down a tooth on the front, generally speaking. It depends on the bike a little bit. Heavier flywheel as well can help.
Okay. So you brought up tyres. One of the guys in my group actually asked about tyres, and I said I refuse to ask you that question, but you brought up tyres. What tyre do you actually prefer to ride on the rear?
Yeah, I think the Michelin is still kind of there, number one, but the others are pretty close, let's say. But then, some wear a bit different. The Michelin kind of wears too quickly. So, if it's dry, it's halfway through the race, the knobbles have gone, you're probably at a disadvantage.
Yeah, but you guys got one tyre per roundabout, it's like us Oaks try to do 4 races per tyre.
Yeah,
That's a different
exactly.
ballgame.
It doesn't make so much difference. Let's say, we're trying to win races or whatever, but
Obviously, yeah.
it doesn't really make so much difference if you run a medium tyre on the rear, whatever it is. I think the mousse is more important. Get that tubeless mousse,
All
low
right.
pressure. You're going to find gripping 90% of the places. Do you know what I mean? That last 10% that you want a tyre, it's not
Exactly.
so
You said
much
one, yeah.
difference.
Yeah, no, that's true as you say. Okay, so I've got one more question on bike setups, and I'm going to give Tyson opportunity to ask a question. So, Tyson, think about your question now, and then we're going to move on to the last three questions. So, I know I'm putting myself out there. I'm a four-stroke rider. I'm riding. I've got a Honda 250X, and I've got a KTM 254 stroke. So what is your opinion on a four-stroke? Am I shooting myself in the foot here, putting myself in the open with the graders all the time?
Depends on the race. I like riding four strokes. When it's a bit. Let's take in the roof and stuff on them faster bits. It could even be more stable. Suspension sometimes works better on the on the flowing stuff. But it's just when you get it in the real technical stuff, low revs, they still stall and feels a bit heavier. But in the lower classes, I don't think it's going to make any difference.
All right. Now, obviously, there's a reason why you guys all do the 300s in the top end races, but I love my four-stroke. Okay, we're down to our last three questions, though. The section about competitive riders. So, it seems like Manny is running ahead of the pack at the moment. What's your sentiment on him? Do you think he's like rising above the rest? And what's your sentiment on the other top five guys?
Yeah, Manny's obviously, that little bit ahead. Billy, if he's on form, obviously, not injured. But, I think the fitness is a major issue. Obviously, their techniques and stuff's really good as well. But when you see the fitness levels, obviously maybe mine fitness is down a little bit, but I think the fitness is so high that they can do it just consistently for hours, and that probably makes quite a big difference. The bike as well. They're probably looking at the bikes. They've got the bikes set up pretty good as well, which can make a difference, I think, at higher level.
Would you actually rate fitness above technique? Or vice versa?
Yeah, I think without fitness, it doesn't matter about your technique. Obviously, you need both, but without the fitness, in a hard race, it's basically a waste of time, because if you're so tired, the technique's not going to make any difference. And if fitness is there, you can sometimes get away with lacking technique, because you can just there's always a way through.
Okay, so we'll score fitness slightly higher than technique if you're super fit. Okay, interesting point. Who's your favorite enduro rider except the GOAT, of course?
Yeah, obviously got a lot of respect for all the guys. Just raising the level. Everybody's raised the level. Top 6, 7, 8 riders. But yeah, it's just nice to see. Obviously, I've got to try and compete with these guys, but it's good to see how the sport's improving. Yeah, that didn't answer the question of who's the rider.
No,
who's my favourite rider.
Yeah, I think I put it in a bit of a spot there, because then next time somebody's giving you this QI. But I think what we all respect about you guys is not this animosity and a fighting spirit. I mean, yes, you're competitive, but you're all nice guys, and sit around afterwards and having a beer and all that. So the camaraderie and stuff. So I really appreciate that, and I think everybody else does. And my final question is, tell us a bit more about your upcoming documentary.
Yeah, that's it. It's just basically about my life and what happened before enduro, and then my change switched from trials to enduro, and what happened through the last 10, 12 years or whatever it is more than that, isn't it? 50. And then, but it's taken a bit of time, get old footage and then, interviews with people that have helped me out and different insights to what's happened with the sport and everything. But, we're having a few problems with, the permission of the content of the big races. So it's a little bit on hold, but it'll be coming soon.
Awesome. When can we expect a release date?
Yeah, I think we need to sort these permissions out, and then I'm going to try find more footage and stuff as well. And so it's either there's so much content. I might do a few episodes as well, change it into a kind of different episodes as well. So a bit more in-depth insight to each stage in my career, and maybe the training and how you improve and all the rest of it. Give it a good mix.
Well, I think there's a lot of people looking forward to that, and due respect to you. I mean, you've worked hard for this, and I mean, you're not known as the GOAT for no reason whatsoever. Okay, Taze, last question to you before we round off.
Graham, maybe I've got two questions. Firstly would be, what's your your training program? What does your training program look like generally?
Yeah, it's hard to say generally because it's a little bit different racing and injuries and all that. But age, how I train compared to others is maybe different. I've got to rest a little bit more. Try to get on top of the aches and pains from over the years. But basically doing something every day, more off the bike. Off season, obviously trying to keep the muscles strong and all the rest of it, and then nearer the season, a little bit more stamina, more time on the bike, try to do some mountain biking and get into peak form for the race. Becomes longer hours on the bike, but so much going on, travelling around, doing schools and tours. We've got some new destinations of tours. I was just in Colombia for a 5-day tour there. That's a new destination. Panama. So, travelling around can make it difficult. It's difficult to do everything properly, but unfortunately there's not enough money in to just race. Sponsors are good, but things are tight, so you kind of got to do the schools, and the tours is something for the future as well, something I enjoy, going different places. And
then my next question would be, with this whole saga of KTM going on a liquidation, etc., etc., what is the future, in your opinion, of the sport? Do you say it's growing? Is it shrinking a bit? Because in South Africa especially, if you check at the local races, there's a lot less guys than it used to be. So, in my opinion, in South Africa, it's scrimping a little bit. It's shrinking a bit. What's your opinion of the overseas races? I mean, what's your opinion of the general healthiness of the sport?
Yeah, I think the question is there less people racing or less people riding? Because I think there's a lot of people that ride and don't necessarily want to race. And if money's tight, things seem to be a bit tighter the last few years. I think there might be less people racing and keeping the bike, for money reasons. But I think generally, the sport's becoming more well known and more riders. I think especially in some of the more developing countries, Indonesia and Brazil, there's a lot of followers there as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting what you just mentioned there, Graham. In the developing countries, because one of my biggest questions always were, why is the USA not featuring? I mean, they've definitely got the talent, they've definitely got the money, they've definitely got the terrain. So why not more USA in West and Hard Enduro?
It's growing, definitely growing there, and it's probably, I was there 10 years ago, let's say, and from there it's just growing massively. Like, they've got their own championship, and they kind of stay it's such a big country, obviously, they kind of stay there, but when you think how massive that is, it's crazy. It's definitely growing there.
Yeah, but I seem like a bit lagging.
Yeah, I guess my last question would be if you have any advice for like younger riders that want to get into racing and don't necessarily have all the tools to, get to ride all the time or practice all the time or get coaching classes or things like that. What would be like if you could choose one aspect of hard enduro to focus on when it comes to improving? Which one that would be? If it would be like training in the gym, or riding seat time, or diet, or what would that be?
Yeah, I think this is where the trials comes in, because you can do it in a small area. The bikes are cheaper. You don't need a fancy bike, and you just learn the skills on that first. That's the number one, and it's safer. The trials bikes, it's lighter. You've got to stand up, so you've got to use your technique with your legs, and I think it's such a big advantage for younger riders.
So the main thing would be to focus on technique or like seat time.
Yeah, definitely the technique. Yes, if you haven't got places to ride, it's not as accessible. If you've got just a small area, just do your log and your rock technique and the slow riding, and that'll just benefit you so much later on.
Okay, and then my last question would also, I thought that was my last question, but anyways, my last question would be, how many times a week would you recommend to start training and things like that to, let's say, get to a decent level or a maybe top 20 level in the West or top 15 level?
Yeah, I think obviously as much as you can, and keep it quality and keep enthusiastic about it. But if you did just 10, 20 minutes or whatever, if you don't have a lot of time, just every day, little and often, I always say, is good for learning the technique.
Okay, hundreds. I'll try and ride as much as possible. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to speak to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Cool. Hundreds.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Clayton. Cheers, man. And thanks a lot, Tace, for joining us. And Graham, like I said, it's been an absolute thrill. We're really looking forward to your documentary. I'm definitely going to watch it, and hopefully it becomes a Netflix series with 9 series and 9 episodes per series. But no, I'm just kidding. But
you never know.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a role model, and a lot of people look up to you. And I mean, even for me, who's almost 50 years old myself, I give my age away, good grief. Just sitting there at the bottom of a hill, and you think like, I mean, Jarvis can do this, I can do this. So you're a real inspiration to a lot of guys, and thanks for what you're doing to the community, and thank you for your time today. I mean, this is really appreciated.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Great stuff. Okay, keep well.
Yeah.
And heat those rocks, eh? Cheers, bud. Keep well.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was Graham Jarvis, the greatest of all time, the GOAT. He's spitting on ears to chaps like Wade and Manny and Green and Theo. That's half his age. They still got elbows that bend and knees that don't go crick. I mean, and I hear exactly what Graham is saying about the injuries and stuff, and they do take longer to heal. And but yeah, he just gets up and he gets going, and if you really want to see how he performs, get down to Erzberg 2022. That video where he was delayed for an hour, and he basically, you can see how he overtakes a lot of the other guys, the silver riders, the bronze riders, the weekend warriors. And he just, wow, what a machine. Anyway, thanks a lot to Graham for giving us his time, and who knows who's next for interviews. So keep watching Pulstock's Rides. I'm always working to get another interview for you guys. So who knows who's next? Maybe Manny, maybe Wade Young, who knows. Cheers guys, all the best.